A woman with the highest recorded IQ in history told the world the answer to a simple puzzle. Over 1,000 PhDs, mathematicians, physicists, scientists, wrote her letters telling her she was dead wrong. They were furious, they were certain, and every single one of them had to eat their words. Welcome to FactSpunk. If you want more stories like this one, hit subscribe right now, because this one is going to mess with your brain in the best possible way. Here's the puzzle. You're on a game show. 3 doors in front of you. Behind one of them, a brand new car. Behind the other 2, goats. You pick a door, let's say door number 1. The host, who knows exactly what's behind every door, opens one of the other 2 and reveals a goat. Now he looks at you and says, do you want to stick with your original choice or switch to the other closed door? What would you do? If your gut says it doesn't matter, that you've got a 50-50 shot either way, you are in excellent company. You're also completely wrong. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why switching doubles your chances of winning, not slightly improves them, doubles them. Let's go back to where this all started, because the story behind the math is almost as wild as the math itself. The problem has roots going all the way back to 1889, when French mathematician Joseph Bertrand described something called the box paradox, a similar idea, different packaging. Then in 1975, statistician Steve Selvin published the problem in almost its exact modern form in a letter to an American statistics journal. But none of that made it famous. What made it famous was a woman named Marilyn Vos-Savant. Marilyn Vos-Savant was already a household name by 1990. In the 1980s, she had entered the Guinness Book of World Records for achieving the highest IQ score ever recorded, 228 points. She had been hired by Parade magazine, one of the most widely read publications in the United States, to write a weekly column answering reader questions. The column was called Ask Maryland. On September 9, 1990, a reader sent in the game show puzzle. Maryland published it, answered it clearly, and said, yes, you should always switch doors. Switching gives you a 2/3 chance of winning. Staying gives you only 1/3. What happened next was one of the most spectacular public intellectual meltdowns in modern history. Nearly 10,000 letters flooded into Parade magazine's offices. More than 1,000 of them were signed by people with PhDs, and most of them were not polite. One letter read, you made an error, and it was a significant one. Another came from a university professor who wrote, there is enough mathematical ignorance in this country already. Someone else suggested she go back and read an introductory probability textbook before attempting to answer questions like this again. And then, because apparently no controversy is complete without it, one letter suggested that perhaps women simply approach mathematical problems differently than men. These weren't random people on the internet. These were credentialed academics, doctors of mathematics, doctors of physics, and they were all wrong. Here's what I want to ask you, and I genuinely want you to answer this in the comments below. Before you understood the solution, what was your instinct? Did you think it was 50-50? Did you think it mattered? Be honest. Because your answer is actually a clue into how your brain is wired, and we're going to come back to that at the end of this video. So why is switching actually better? Let's break this down 5 different ways, because if one explanation doesn't click, another one will. The simple logic approach. When you first pick a door, you have a 1 in 3 chance of being right. That means there's a 2 in 3 chance the car is behind one of the other 2 doors. Now the host opens one of those other doors and shows you a goat. Here's the key. The probability attached to your original door doesn't change. It's still 1/3. But that 2/3 probability that was spread across the other 2 doors, it doesn't disappear. It doesn't split. It collapses entirely onto the one remaining closed door. That door now carries a 2/3 chance of hiding the car. Your door still has 1/3. Switching wins twice as often as staying. The counting approach. Let's say you always pick door 1. There are only 3 possible scenarios, depending on where the car actually is. Scenario 1, the car is behind door 1. The host opens either door 2 or door 3. Both have goats. If you switch, you lose. If you stay, you win. Scenario 2, the car is behind door 2. The host must open door 3. It's the only goat door he can reveal. If you switch to door 2, you win. If you stay, you lose. Scenario 3, the car is behind door 3. The host must open door 2. If you switch to door 3, you win. If you stay, you lose. So out of 3 scenarios, switching wins in 2 of them. Staying wins in only 1. That's 2/3 versus 1/3. Every time. Not sometimes. Every time you run this logic. Still not convinced? Keep watching, because it gets even more obvious. The exaggeration approach. Let's blow up the numbers to make it impossible to ignore. Forget 3 doors. Imagine 100 doors. 1 car, 99 goats. You pick door number 1. Your odds of being right, 1 in 100. The odds that the car is behind one of the other 99 doors, 99 in 100. Now the host, who knows where everything is, opens 98 of those other doors, one by one, each revealing a goat. He leaves just one door closed, just yours and his. Now ask yourself, is it more likely that you, out of 100 random doors, happen to pick the right one on your first guess? Or is it more likely that the host, who knew exactly where the car was and carefully avoided opening that one door, left it closed for a reason? The answer is almost embarrassingly obvious at this scale. His remaining door has a 99 in 100 chance of being the winner. Yours has 1 in 100. Nothing changed about that when he started opening doors. All that probability had nowhere else to go. The card deck approach. Here's a version you can actually try at home. Take a standard deck of 52 cards, shuffle it. Your goal is to find the ace of hearts. Pull one card face down. That's your pick. The odds it's the ace of hearts, 1 in 52. Now someone who has looked through the rest of the deck takes the remaining 51 cards, checks every single one, and puts down just one card face down in front of you, discarding the other 50. They did not discard the ace of hearts if it wasn't your card. Now 2 cards sit on the table. Which one is more likely to be the ace of hearts? Yours with 1 in 52 odds, or theirs, carrying all the remaining probability, 51 in 52?
You'd switch without hesitating. And the 3-door version works on exactly the same principle. The numbers are just small enough that our brains feel like they can argue with it. The simulation approach. If you're the kind of person who doesn't trust logic or analogies, fair enough, some of us need cold hard data. Computer simulations of this exact game have been run hundreds of thousands of times. When the switching strategy is used consistently, it wins roughly 66% of the time. When the staying strategy is used consistently, it wins roughly 33% of the time. That's not close. That's not a rounding error. It's a factor of 2 every single time across every simulation ever run. And now for the mathematical proof, the one that closes the door on all debate. No pun intended. What makes this problem so tricky is that the host's action is not random. He doesn't open a door by accident. He doesn't flip a coin. He uses his knowledge. He always opens a door with a goat. And that intentional act carries information that updates the probability landscape of the entire game. This is where a framework called Bayesian analysis becomes essential. Bayesian reasoning insists that when new information arrives, we must update our probability estimates accordingly. Not partially, not optionally, mathematically. Let's name things clearly. The door the host opens will be called M. So S1 means the car is behind door 1, S2 means it's behind door 2, and so on. You pick door 1. The host opens door 2. Now we want to know, what is the probability that the car is behind door 1, given that the host opened door 2? And what is the probability that the car is behind door 3, given that the host opened door 2?
Using Bayes' theorem, each of these conditional probabilities equals the probability of the host opening door 2 in that scenario, multiplied by the prior probability that the car is in that position, divided by the overall probability that the host opens door 2. Since the car is equally likely to start behind any door, the prior probabilities are all 1/3. The denominator, the overall probability that the host opens door 2, is the same in both cases. So the only thing that differentiates the two outcomes is what statisticians call the likelihood. Here's where it clicks. If the car is behind door 1, the door you chose, the host can open either door 2 or door 3. He has 2 options. So the probability of him specifically opening door 2 in this scenario is 1/2. But if the car is behind door 3, the host cannot open door 3, that's where the car is. He also cannot open door 1, that's your door. He has only one option, door 2. So the probability of him opening door 2 in this scenario is 1. It's certain. 1 is double 1/2. So the probability that the car is behind door 3 is double the probability that it's behind 1. Since those two probabilities must add up to 1, the math settles cleanly. 1/3 for your original door, 2/3 for the remaining door. Maryland was right. The math is unambiguous. The only variable that changes when the host opens a door is how much information you have, and that information, processed correctly, tells you to switch every single time. Now here's where it gets philosophically interesting, and perhaps a little humbling. Even after Maryland published not 1, but 4 follow-up articles patiently explaining the solution, the letters kept coming, the hostility kept coming. Eventually, some of those letter writers ran their own simulations. They wrote their own programs. They watched the results pile up, 66%, 66%, 66%, and only then did they accept it. One professor, Robert Sachs from George Mason University, later wrote a public letter of apology that said something along the lines of, "After removing my foot from my mouth, I am now eating a large slice of humble pie." Even the mathematician Paul Erdos, considered one of the most prolific and brilliant mathematicians of the entire 20th century, refused to accept the solution until he saw a computer simulation with his own eyes. Let that sink in. One of the greatest mathematical minds in history needed a computer program to override his intuition on a three-door problem. So what does that tell us about ourselves? Psychologists and cognitive scientists have spent decades trying to understand why this particular problem breaks human reasoning so reliably. And it's not just that people get it wrong. It's that even after being shown the correct answer, many people continue to feel in their gut that it's wrong. That gut feeling doesn't go away easily. Several psychological effects seem to be working together here. The first is something called the endowment effect. Once you've chosen a door, you feel like it's yours. You've claimed it. And people consistently place higher value on things they already possess than on things they don't, even when the objective evidence says the unclaimed thing is more valuable. The second effect is called status quo bias. Humans are wired to prefer the current state of things over change. Switching feels like a gamble. Staying feels like loyalty to a decision you've already made.
Even when switching is statistically the right move, staying feels safer. Not because it is, but because doing nothing feels less risky than doing something. If you stay and lose, you might feel like fate chose against you. If you switch and lose, you feel like you caused your own loss. That asymmetry in how we assign blame, even to ourselves, pushes people toward inaction. And here's the most humbling part of all. Researchers have tested pigeons on a version of this problem, actual pigeons. And the birds, after enough trials, start switching consistently, optimizing for the better outcome. They don't need to understand probability theory. They just learn from experience that switching wins more often, and they adjust their behavior accordingly. We, the species that built particle accelerators and wrote symphonies, stubbornly argue with the math. So the next time someone tells you that your intuition is a reliable guide to the truth, remember this story. Remember the 10,000 letters. Remember the 1,000 PhDs who were absolutely certain of something that was absolutely wrong. Remember that even Paul Erdos needed a computer to change his mind. And then remember that a woman with an IQ of 228 sat patiently through all of it, published 4 explanations instead of 1, and was right the entire time. The Monty Hall problem isn't just a probability puzzle. It's a stress test for human reasoning, and almost all of us fail it, at least the first time. Now go find a friend, tell them the puzzle, and watch what happens. Don't give them the answer straight away. Let them think.
Watch their face when you tell them switching wins 2 out of 3 times, and then watch their face again when you explain why. That moment, that specific look of confused resistance, followed by slow, reluctant understanding, is one of the most honest glimpses you'll ever get into how a human brain actually works. And isn't that worth knowing? I'm FactSpark. Subscribe if you want more of this. See you in the next one.